I hope the amazing Tesla engineers that developed this big spring refresh for the software still have jobs. We're not going to think about that too much right now. We're just going to think about how cool this is for people who have somewhat newer Teslas. If you have an Intel-based Tesla, that you purchased before 2021, you probably just shouldn't watch this video. It's just going to make you mad. But I have an AMD Ryzen-based Tesla, so suck it. But headlining new feature that I think is really cool, and once again, it feels like with a lot of my Tesla software requests, Tesla is straight up listening a lot of the time, because I loved the Cybertruck UI. Both times I got a chance to play around with it. I love that the vehicle's like slightly moving and that the navigation goes up into the top right corner. And I kept saying every time I checked it out, why can't we get this kind of UI in our Model 3? Well, it sounds like we are, because if you have an AMD Ryzen processor in your Model 3 and Y, you're getting this large new expansive UI of your vehicle when in park, improved now plane controls, and an adjustable autopilot visualization on the screen. I don't think they're necessarily showing that yet, but I'm curious if that's going to go out to people who don't pay for full self-driving as well, because currently, we can take FSD and make it occupy the entire display. Maybe people with autopilot are going to be able to do something like that, but it just looks gorgeous, and I was asking for it on my car, and now it seems like it's going to be coming in this big spring refresh that Tesla has just announced. Another crazy update that Tesla announced for both the Model S and X refresh, so if you have a 2021 or later, there's more capabilities when it comes to auto shift out of drive and reverse now. Instead of just auto shifting out of park, where the car isn't moving and you press the brake pedal and it already knows which direction you want to go, now they're claiming that the car will know when you're making like a 3-point turn when to shift from reverse into drive or vice versa, which sounds a little bit scary to me. I'd be a little bit hesitant to try that, but I guess they feel like they have the driving data or the trip navigation data to be able to tell when, okay, you've completed turning, and maybe when you just come to a complete stop, it automatically shifts you in the opposite direction. I'd be a little scared about that, but unfortunately, there's still no talk about them adding auto shift out of park to the Model 3 and Y, which Elon said they were going to do years ago. Maybe they decided against it. They're like, nah, you just keep using your gear stocks or whatever. But even the Model 3 doesn't have gear stocks anymore, so I feel like the refresh Model 3 at least should get the option to auto shift out of park. But seems like no, Tesla just wants to keep on spoiling Model S and X owners. Tesla also announced Audible support is coming as its own dedicated app on their OS too, as well as a Spotify queuing system, which, by the way, true story, we were using the Spotify built into the car recently because my wife's phone is kind of old and acting up, but she doesn't want to upgrade it. So I said, honey, you should just play Spotify from the car itself. That way you don't have to fumble around with your phone acting up. And what she didn't like about Spotify in the car was the fact that she couldn't cue music. She didn't have that much control over it. And now it sounds like they're adding that as an option. So maybe premium connectivity will just start to become a little bit more worth it to us. And now they're adding playback controls to the Spotify app on Tesla, so you can play podcasts faster if you so desire. I know I've definitely done that. And the next update comes to the refresh Model S and X and also the refresh Model 3. So if you have gear stocks, I guess you just cannot access this feature for some reason. But it's kind of weird, and I'm not sure if I really like it. But they claim that if you have phone key enabled and you stand at the back of your car and you don't move, then the trunk will automatically open, which I think is kind of weird. It's not like one of those kick sensor type things where it notices your foot or anything like that. No, it's purely just, I guess the car is able to detect if your phone is on you and you're standing at the back of the car, and if they notice that you're just standing back there, the trunk will automatically open. I don't know about you guys, but I could think of a lot of situations where I'd be standing near the rear end of my car and I wouldn't want the trunk to open. And if I have to stand still and wait for the car to recognize me, I think it'd be easier for me to just push the button on the trunk. But I don't know. Maybe Tesla has some really advanced algorithm that's really great at detecting when I'm coming up to my car carrying a bag of groceries and I can't reach the trunk button. I don't know, but apparently the trunk will automatically open with the right circumstances, which is a little weird. But I'm not going to be able to document that for you because I have an older Model 3, but not too old to not get those new visualizations. But a pretty big upgrade to Sentry mode that has been a long requested feature for, I think, as long as I can remember, and through Tesla's update announcement, they didn't say if this requires the AMD Ryzen chip, so I assume this might be the one feature that all Teslas get, including Intel-based ones. They're now saying that within select countries, we don't know which countries are doing this, but if a Sentry mode event is reported reported, you'll actually be able to see a brief preview of that Sentry Mode event on your phone, actually potentially straight through the lock screen. So this means Tesla, if a Sentry Mode event is documented, is capable of pinging you to your phone and then live streaming that Sentry Mode recording to your phone, and that uses up a lot of data, so I definitely assume this is going to be a premium connectivity feature. And they say on your lock screen, just by pressing and holding that notification, you'll be able to see whatever the recording is. But reading the release notes, it could just happen if an alarm is triggered. So maybe if someone is just walking by your car, that option doesn't necessarily appear. But as a security feature, I feel like this should have been here from day one. Always getting that alarm is going off notification is really panicky and you don't know what's going on. So if you could just quickly view what is going on, of course, that would be immensely helpful. But if it only shows you when the alarm actually happens, it's probably not going to be all too often. But still, a feature that would be great and nice to have for sure. And then last couple features for the Model S and X, they said that the regenerative braking has been improved on the 2021 and later S and X at highway speeds, which I didn't know that the regen could get much better than it already was, but apparently it's more efficient now. And also they're going to be adding trip and navigation data to the rear mounted displays on the Model S and X. I don't know why they can't add that to the refresh Model 3 or Cybertruck, but yeah, the rear occupants can now see the time and their temperature in the back screen as well, so kids can have less of an excuse to ask, are we there yet? Because just tell them, look at the screen! But simultaneously, Tesla is also dropping a fairly notable spring refresh for the Cybertruck software. However, sorry, still no autopilot, still no FSD, which is certainly a bummer, but they are finally unlocking power sharing for the Cybertruck, which means if you have a Powerwall and a Tesla wall connector, the Cybertruck will basically now become a giant Powerwall, and it'll be able to power your house, which is pretty cool. They've said that they were going to do this for a while, and it sounds like with this spring release, it'll finally be capable of doing that. They're also finally adding the Colorizer, which makes a lot of sense because all existing Teslas have that, but the Cybertruck didn't, and the Cybertruck is, of course, asking to be wrapped. So many people have wrapped their Cybertrucks already, so finally you'll be able to update the UI in your Cybertruck to reflect your wrap, or don't reflect your wrap. It could just be any color you want in your own little virtual world. But a long overdue feature that was surprisingly not available in the Cybertruck since launch is cabin overheat protection, which they say they're now adding. So if the interior goes above a certain temperature, the HVAC kind of kicks on and keeps it a little bit more under control. And this is a crazy one. The Cybertruck's turning radius has actually been improved by about 1.6 feet just through a software update. So I assume that has a little bit to do with the rear wheel steering. There was a lot of talk that it's more capable than what the launch models are currently doing, so they tweaked it a little bit. May not be as drastic as a turning radius improvement as a lot of people were expecting, but still, how nuts is it that you can get a software update and now your car can turn a little bit tighter? Having done a full clocked turn radius in the Cybertruck myself, I was immensely impressed, so to know that via this update it's going to get any better. Yeah, Cybertruck gets better too, but I have to admit, I'm still a little bit disappointed that this vehicle Tesla's charging $100,000 or $120,000 for, and still does not, of course, have full self-driving, which everybody who's taken delivery of a Cybertruck has been forced to pay for at pretty much full price, because that Foundation series is an additional $20,000 charge. Anyone else remember the day when we all thought Tesla was going to honor your FSD price lock with your Cybertruck reservations? I tried to warn everybody. I don't think Tesla's actually going to honor those. I don't think they have to honor those. Here we are, and yeah, they're not really honoring those at all. But what do you guys think of Tesla's spring refresh? I'm kind of excited and genuinely surprised. Usually they save these kinds of big updates for the holiday refresh, but this time they're doing it in the spring. I'm just a big fan of the updated UI. I loved that in the Cybertruck and I really wanted it in my car, so it feels nice to be vindicated. I apologize if you're an Intel-based Tesla. Fingers crossed for auto shift out of park in my car. That would be great. And also double fingers crossed for potentially adding AirPlay in the future or an app store, just so that I could stream any streaming service up to my screen, not just the handful of apps that they have on there. Also, if they gave me the option to have CarPlay, I would really appreciate it, because Tesla navigation is still making dumb decisions every day for me. But anyway, thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.